Hey there. Alright, today we're gonna talk about how to drift in TCO. Okay guys, first of all we're gonna start from grabbing a car. And just for the purpose of this presentation, I'm gonna use this one. This is the first car you can get without any pressure. I used to have some parts, so we're gonna check that out and I'm gonna apply something just so it's not a D class. We're gonna make it either a C or B. Don't remember. In a moment we're gonna find out. Anyway, first of all, try to have a rear drive car, not front wheel or all wheel drive. I mean, you can push some drifts on that one, but it has to be built up. And anyway, we're not gonna bother ourselves with the all drive cars right now. Grab the rear wheel drive. This is a tongue breaker for me, so I apologize if it sounds funny. And let's put some parts in it. So you can push on some small corners drifts with the class D and C, but this is not what we want to do. So I want to show you some ideas. The purpose of this clip is that I know that there are people who struggle with drifting, and even though I'm not a pro drifter, I'm a really good driver in real life. But I'm a gamer. I love drifting. I've learned how to drift through games. I've done it in real life though. I know what I'm talking about. I haven't had officially a proper coaching or training, so I'm gonna talk from the gamer points of view for the purpose of gamers of this game. Even though the tips I'm gonna share with you are universal, and it's generally about the drifting. And because this game is so good and realistic, in my opinion, the realism and the physics are quite realistic, comparing to real life sensation of drifting. That's why I personally love this game. I think there used to be a game called Drift years and years ago, and I think this game is a development from that team, because the cars and everything else is really similar. Anyway, I feel like we're getting end with the engine. Now the next important thing, guys, it's the suspension. So what we wanna do first, I personally like white tires. It just, from the way it looks, I don't think it matters in the game. Anyway, in terms of the how grippy the wheels are, you definitely wanna dump the suspension and make it completely flat. And I personally like to spread the wheels to the max, because for me, I like the way the car behaves. We also wanna spread the back tires in order to have a bit more power to the asphalt. And on the higher power cars, I personally also make the front wheels more narrower, just for my own pleasure. I don't know. Sometimes I'm gonna make the camber, give them a little camber there, because when they turn, it just the inside will grip a little bit better. I will anchor that drift for me much nicer. All right. So what is drifting, guys? Drifting ultimately it's when you turn your car and you lose control on that, and then you regain control over the car which is kind of out of control. Yeah, fire icon. This is a badass car. Let's go. All right. So from also absolute basics, drift is when the car kind of turns and you sort of overshooting that turn. So the back of the car is going a little bit faster than the front, and this is what happens. So ultimately, I'm gonna try to show you when you just press the pedal and how the car will respond. So ultimately, if you notice, the car kind of turns. If you go right, it will turn up to, if it's like the arm of a clock, right? It's pointing at 12 o'clock right now. We're going around 1 o'clock or 11 on the other side. If you go past 2, around 3, that means that you've lost that drift and you've lost control over the car, which is what I'm about to do in a moment. Just so you guys see, when you go too deep, you see, there you go, there is no control. So now, how to gain control? First of all, very important is how you accelerate and how you use your acceleration. We unfortunately don't have a way to apply a particular amount of acceleration like in a drift car. You always want to feather that pedal, and you never want to sort of lose the acceleration, because that's when the drift stops and you go sideways. So ultimately that will be the purpose of braking. But because the game allows us to press this pedal really quickly, you'll notice that I'm calling it pumping. I just pumped too much. You'll see what happens. You just saw, I mean. So the idea is that when you pump, you tighten up that corner. So you wanna kind of set the car around 1 o'clock or 11, depending if it's a right or left corner. And then you wanna maintain that angle throughout the corner. Now, how to do it? Very often, you have to anticipate. You'll notice the steering wheel arrows. I like to steer this way. I feel like it gives me more control and much more precision than at the actual steering wheel, which you can use if you change in settings. But the first thing you want to do if you turn into right corner, it's apply left counter. So what happens is your wheels will go right first, and then you kind of strengthen them up. So the back wheels will apply power to your car to keep pushing it towards the right, while the steering wheels will allow you to actually control that angle by counter steering and applying enough throttle to have control over that maneuver, like for example here. So I used this map initially because of the big fat line in the middle, and it's a good practice for you, to keep that line and drift, maintaining the middle of the car above it. When you get better, you wanna aim, for example, like here, right corner of the car, you wanna keep close to the right side of the road, and same with the left drifts. You wanna maintain left corner of the car, like here you see, touching the left sort of side of the road, and again angle around 1:30 or 10:30, 11 o'clock. If you go over that means that you'll have to pump a lot with acceleration in order to get out of that corner. And if, for example, you're getting close to the wall, the outside wall, you wanna brake, because that will deepen the drift of yours. Now guys, this is the first edition of this tutorial, so if you have any feedback or any ideas how we can explain or put in words this whole concept, like, check this out. I love drifting. See, the plus of drifting, wait, let me finish the previous sentence. If you have any feedback, please drop it in comments. I have no problem to re-record it and make it better. It's supposed to be a tool which everybody can use, especially the beginners, just to get some understanding of how to drift. And I personally love this game for that. The tuning part and the racing, it's kind of way past my fun with in terms of drifting. And the plus of that thing is that you can do it from the day one, from the moment you install the game. You don't really need any special car parts to this, so you can drift a little to get some cash, get literally a few boxes, get any parts which will make it a class C or class B, and then you can have fun just the way I have here. When you get some a little practice in that and you start having some control over that, try for example St. Petersburg, because it brings you to the concept of driving in a city and in the tighter roads. And then Tokyo and Tong is just so much fun. All right, when you get better, you can try a little bit better car, a little bit stronger. I'm currently exploring. I'm gonna show you what I was playing with throughout the game. That's the cars I used to use for drifting. But currently, due to the engine sound and the overall experience, I love this car for drifting. It's just so much fun. Yeah, that's the setup I have. I don't have a gold part with bonus to all legendary. That's what I have in my BRZ, exactly the same setup plus the 50, so it's a S-Class. We're gonna get to that car in a moment. But I just wanna show you the differences when you have a little bit of power. Not too much, but just a little bit. How much more you can have sensation from drifting. Now, I know that some of those drifts, some of those corners aren't perfect, but it doesn't really matter. It's about to show you when you find a cool corner, just please notice the relation between the steering and the acceleration. There are those dots which you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, also nitro will help you get out of the corners. It just gives you more acceleration. and we overshot that a little bit, so we have to brake and then straighten it up. So right, if you see, notice front wheels, they'll be always aiming in the direction we want to go, while the back kind of follows. And then what happens, you want to catch that weight and that momentum of that car and redirect it. Like here, drifting on a straight line, it's a good practice, but try go below 100 k's or miles, whatever you're driving, especially miles. Below 60 miles, let's say it. In terms of drifting longer corners, you need much smaller angle and a lot of more control over your feathering in terms of using your acceleration, I mean. Also be careful that some of the corners like to tighten up towards the end, therefore you have to let go the acceleration and sort of regain the control over the drift in a bit, like for example here. And then nitro helps to get out of there. Now I'm not sure at this point can you hear the engine, but this one has a really nice one. My favorite car of the game, the BRZ or the Toyota GT, I think I overdone it and I need to dump it up a little bit, so I need to go to the shop and buy some parts. There's no problem with it, but I'm just too lazy. So I drive the other car much more often, but without sound, so the experience is really a bit weird, because I actually, in this car, I really rely on the sound in terms of drifting, and it's much more sort of instinctive, like I feel like I'm very much more instinctive, you know, using my instinct. I'm not sure that the previous way was very much English. But there is this period of readjusting that when I have to, you know, when I use the other car and I have to turn the volume down, it just focuses, I have to really focus on what happens with that car and how to kind of anticipate what's happening, because while you get used to drifting, you will get used to that this corner and that corner. For example, you have the open corners and the tight corners. Like this one is going to be tight, so I'll need a bit deeper angle of my car. See, it's still 2 o'clock, not 3. It wasn't very successful, but hopefully in a moment. While this corner will be much more open, so therefore the initial angle of my car will be much smaller. And then here it tightens up, so I have to slow down and then regain the control over the drift. Then transition to another one. When you do a transition, this is actually the only moment when you let completely go the acceleration. That helps the car to flip on the other side, and then by accelerating you kind of catch that drift to the other side and regain control over that. Now, when you're drifting left, for example, the left front wheel, it's kind of like an anchor, while the back and the outside wheel is sort of trying to go around it. So you will notice that when you have, for example, a stronger car, it's better to have a bit of camber angle in the front wheels, so they kind of look like a stand, because during the turn, the inside wheel, it's much more flat to the surface, therefore it's better connected and it grips a little bit more. It also allows you to get out of much deeper angles in the drift, which we might talk about when I sort this car out, and we'll be actually able to do that, because at this stage, I remember when I was recording this is the idle sound, which is really, really cool. I think I might even increase the volume for a moment. That's it. But then you start drifting, and it's like, what the hell? Listen to this, listen. I should increase the volume of the clip, but it's just too much effort. Yeah, that's it. So, what do you do in order not to get annoyed? This car is so beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I'm being completely distracted by that noise. And now that silence. Now you can hear the sounds outside of my window, because it's quite noisy and there's nothing I can do about it. So I apologize, but I'm gonna talk like this. I'm gonna be wide, very wide. Anyway, see, much better. Straight away, I have more control over the car. Now, this car is that's a S class, so I have a feather set on this. I think I have nitro set. We'll see in a moment. Yeah, definitely, or maybe frost. Anyway, I have two green sets and then 50% to all the green parts, so it's a solid S class. Which I know that for drifting it's completely unnecessary, but I just I don't know. I just like it. Look what happens with the camera in the angles when you're drifting on the fast speed. It's completely different sensation. I think that's what it is, and that's why I'm still kind of not really encouraged to fix that engine, dump it down a little bit, perhaps to the A class, maybe even B, just to have a bit more fun with it, and perhaps make this engine sound even better. But I'm just there's a hope, you know. There's a little hope that it will change one day, but if it doesn't, that's the hope is broken, you know. No more. Anyway, you see, we want to turn. You press the on the turn obviously, but as soon as you want to straighten, you have to counter. But then still, you might have to turn in order to maintain that angle and not lose that drift. Especially with the higher speeds, you want to make a transition between the corners, potentially between single drift when you do one corner and then transit straight to the other drift, rather than have a few transitions between the drifts because our speed is not enough and or the angle is too big. Like here, for example, you see one transition and I'm trying to fold to another one. There you go. And here, unfortunately, is a big ass straight, so we have to do a few transitions. No paint taken off the car this time, thankfully. This is Dubai style of dancing. Sorry, drifting. Dancing, actually, yeah, if we put some music in the background. All right, are we going to make this corner nicely? Yes, sir. And a single transition to another one. Bang. There you go. You see, tiny angle. I'm not gonna comment on that failure there. And now we wanna slow it down a little bit because we tighten it up here, and then will be a transition to the right drift. Nicely done, thank you, sir. That was my alarm reminding me that I have to go to work in a moment. So while we enjoy ourselves here with the last few minutes of that amazing tutorial, guys, check out that angle. And I'll need like a nice sound, but unfortunately, you cannot have everything, can you? Alright, guys, anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. If you're still here, good for you. I hope that helps, and then if you have anything to share, please drop it underneath. Take care. Bye.